Like every founder, you started with your great idea. You started building your project with AI, and now you're at a place where you're trying to figure out how to actually get clients, customers, and all that kind of stuff. Don't worry, we've all been there. But what if I told you that you could actually create content from your actual code without actually having to leave the code base? So, without further ado, let me introduce you to the VidIQ MCP tool. By the way, you can also use this inside of Claude to actually do all of the content creation and actually figure out what content you should be creating without having to leave your code base at all. Don't believe me? Let me show you. As you can see, I've been busy and actually doing a lot of stuff in the last few days, 4 days specifically, with Ralph loops and all that kind of stuff. But I recently found out in the last couple of days, really, that vidIQ, which is a tool that I use to do all of my YouTube stuff and helping me create content, is basically the reason why I have vidIQ. I found out that you can actually use vidIQ inside of Claude to actually create content from your backlog, from issues that you're working on inside of your application. By the way, if you're watching this, hopefully you are also building an application, a SaaS or something like that for your own life, because around here on this channel, around the Coding Shield, we build we build applications and systems that help us buy back time inside of our lives. If that's something that you like to figure out more about, go ahead and consider hitting that subscribe button. But the reason why this is such a big deal for me is because literally all I had to do was give it a prompt and say, hey, use the vidIQ MCP connector or skill or whatever it is called for that. I think it's an MCP server, by the way. And I said, hey, I want to look at this project and create content plans around the things that I can do with Claude Code that either need to be fixed, that we haven't already implemented, or things that I have implemented that have been implemented correctly that need to be redone so that I can have a fuller calendar for content. That was something that I was just trying. And what it created for me, literally by going through the entirety of my code base, was a content plan that looks like this. I plan on, and this is basically just a rough idea of some of the things that I plan on creating in the next couple of weeks. But this tells me specifically, hey, here's what is happening inside of your code base, and here's a topic that we can talk about based on what's happening inside of that code base that you're working in. So literally what this has done is grepped and bashed and all kinds of stuff through my code base. So you can see the grep is happening here. That I have some to-dos that are floating around inside of my project that I need to go and fix or do something with. And literally all I said was, hey, go and find inside of the project all of the things that have never actually been implemented yet. But I also could have said, and this is something that I probably will do later, hey, find out what's going on inside of my code base, and then based on who I want to target, create some content for me for that audience. This is going to be a game changer for anybody that's trying to build a SaaS application, because building the SaaS application, yes, you can do that, that's fine. But the hard part is actually getting users. And in today's age, the best possible way to get users is by creating content. So that's exactly what I plan on doing here. But I asked it to also create some slide decks for me as well, using Slide Dev, I believe. What I asked Claude to do was, again, figure out what's going on inside of my code base, and then at the end, and this is towards the end of the conversation. So I asked it, can you export, or can you create some slides so that it's easier for me to actually talk about this stuff? I can go through all the slides and talk through it And this is the output. So this is the whole conversation of it reading through the entirety of the project, figuring out what's going on inside the project, based on the code that we've written and some of the to-dos that are already there. So I have a question builder that is basically for the insurance agent that is building their funnel. That's basically what's happening here. So it's like, hey, this is looking through the question builder, the funnel builder, the video requirements, all the stuff that we've talked about, all the things that I've documented, all of it is all inside of here, and I placed it inside of a different branch so that I don't ever have to worry about, is this the latest version. Everything is versioned because I have it in Git and it's on its own branch, by the way. So it's on its own branch here. I don't have to worry about anything being lost or anything like that. The conversation is still there. We have the full context of the conversation. If I want to go back and look at what I talked about before, I can bring this up in a different session, in a different Claude session if I want to. All the things are available. But the biggest thing here is the fact that all I have to do is say, hey, create this for me, and then it's done. Now, you might be wondering, how do you actually create or connect all this stuff so that you can talk to Claude, or use Claude to talk to vidIQ to figure out what you should be talking about or putting inside of your videos, and maybe even what does this actually look like in practice? So that, my friend, looks like this. All right, there we go. So, what this again has done, I told Claude the beginning. So we started with that prompt from earlier, just as a quick refresher. Here was the prompt from earlier. So I just ran. Oh, sorry, not that one. This one. This one, using vidIQ, all that kind of stuff. So the way that you would actually get this done is by first installing the MCP, which, well, the MCP server, which is basically this command right here, all of this, which I'm getting directly from the documentation of vidIQ, which is right over here. Something I also want to mention, and I realized this while I was editing this video, is that you don't have complete control over vidIQ in terms of what you can and cannot do inside the MCP. So, in terms of writing a full script and doing all of the bells and whistles that are inside of vidIQ, that's not available in the MCP. Now, what you do have is inside of the documentation, and it does show similar things that you can do here. So you can look at your competition, look at video performance, keywords, trends, and analytics to do that. Now, they do also give you a bit of a copy paste type of prompt that you can place inside of Claude Code as well to just get going with something if you want to figure out what's going on inside of your YouTube channel inside of Claude Code, and then make some decisions based on that inside of Claude Code without having to leave it. So you can do all of those things, but I do want to make sure that it's very clear that you can't do everything inside of Claude with the vidIQ MCP. Okay, back to it. So this is literally the command that I just put inside of my terminal. I then let that run, install the MCP server. That's now installed on Claude. I then started Claude inside of my terminal. I can reach it from VS Code as well because it's pretty much the same session, but the full session was inside of my actual terminal. Then after I installed it, I have this guy right here, this entire prompt here that then goes and researches everything inside of my project. And after it's done, so after it's gone through and searched through in the entirety of the project and figured out what's in it, now it's like, hey, I don't have the authentication to actually do the things that you're asking me to do. So first, please authenticate, then do the rest of that. Now, the one thing I want to make sure that everyone understands is when you authenticate for the first time, and by the way, this is something that you will need to have a paid subscription for vidIQ in order to do that. If you need to have a little help doing that, if you want to support the channel as well, link in the description. Shameless plug, I know, a little early, but if you need help, if you need to get started with this, trust me, vidIQ is going to be a game changer and a lifesaver for you. So, link in the description. But what this is, you will have to have an account, and once you authenticate with that account, then what you're going to be able to do is go to this URL right here. So it's going to give you this big old URL, and it's going to return back to you a local host. Like actually, after you authenticate, then you're going to get a local host. What you will want to do is take that local host that it comes back and paste that inside of Claude. I'm going to try, but we will see if it works. But I already did it, so it may or may not work. So this is what it looks like. So you get that full URL, this guy right here, and then it's going to ask you to authorize your vidIQ account. I'm just going to go ahead and do it for the sake of the video. And it's going to then take you to something that looks like this. So it looks like it didn't actually work, but it did. What you're going to want to do is take this link right here and then copy that and paste it inside of your Claude session. This is exactly the same thing that it told me to do here, which your Claude may do, but just in case it doesn't or you overlook it, this is something that I want to make sure that is very, very clear because you will need this. I fumbled around for about 15 minutes trying to figure out what the heck was going on because this was throwing me off. It felt like it wasn't actually working, but it was. So again, make sure after you do the redirect and it comes back to a local host, you copy this and then bring that over because otherwise Claude is not going to be able to do anything because it's not going to be authenticated for your channel or channels. But then once you authenticate, what this is going to be, or based on what I did, the conversation that this created for me, and you can see I fumbled a lot around here trying to figure out what was going on because I just had no idea that was the situation, that you had to keep the local host. But once you have connected everything, here's what you get. And this guy is amazing. Literally, it went through all of my code, all the stuff inside the code base, and then use vidIQ to match up what I want to talk about based on the code that's inside the code base, and then also finding keywords for titles and all that kind of stuff so that I'm not wasting time talking about things that aren't actually going to be beneficial for me and the audience that I'm trying to serve in this particular situation. So hopefully this shines a light. Again, I need to do a bigger deep dive, I know, into specifics on the things that I'm doing with this setup, but I literally just found out about it over the weekend and I could not make a video about it. So hopefully this sparks something for you. Hopefully this helps you figure out how you're going to maybe even make your own content strategy around your app. If you need some help or you need some community to come alongside you and actually help you figure out how to do that, again, consider hitting the subscribe button and check out the links in the description, because around here we are building a community that allows us to build things that buy back time inside of our lives, both with AI engineering and systems and business and all that kind of stuff. So if that sounds fun for you, consider hitting that subscribe button. Until next time, y'all be smooth. Blurt out.